Hi everyone, welcome to episode 2 of my Drawtober OC-tober challenge. Bear with me, as I don't know what I'm doing ever. So in the first episode, I introduced you to my protagonist and perfect daughter, Anya, the protagonist of my webcomic Tinder. And I feel like I would be remiss if I did not introduce you to the protagonist who I mentioned a few times in my Anya episode. And also because I love him and he's so important to me. It's Kiran. It's my boy. It's my perfect handsome boy Kiran. It's I'm still trying to get used to this format where I can just talk about my OCs into a void and not worry about anything. So I guess the easiest place to start is conception and sort of talking about him as a character. He was conceived at the exact same time as Anya. I knew when I was drawing them that I wanted them to be kind of enemies to friends to lovers, that sort of thing. But things have changed. Things have changed a lot. They were a lot more antagonistic with each other when they were first born. I don't like the word conceived for this. It's kind of gross. But with Kiran, I wanted him and Anya to be very much opposite each other, not just in terms of character design, but in terms of their personality, like that sort of idea of like these two very different people can be friends. And back when Anya was a feistier, or like a more rude character, she was also what's the word, a lot more, oops, I work on a 5,000 by 5,000 canvas. I made him too big. It's because he's big boy. Anyway, she was always the more bad cop of the two, like in the good cop bad cop dynamic. But that's not true anymore. Very far from the truth. Because he was always the more shy, introverted of the pair, and he was a lot more openly bookish and nerdy, which was very unlike Anya at the time. But now they're both nerds who adore reading and studying and knowledge, and I mean that was always true for Kiran. I don't think as a character he really changed in that kind of aspect. He's always been my more bookish character, but he's very anxious and very he cares about people a lot. He's the oldest of 4 siblings, so that's kind of where I put myself in him, like older sibling mood. I don't have 4 siblings, I have 1, but just like that older sort of had to be grew up a little too fast, was a lot more mature. I don't think I'm mature. I don't know what I'm talking about, but Kiran is. He's just in a very caretaker role. And if you read my comic Tinder, you'll see that's also very true for him in the story with the characters of Diana and Aiden. He takes on a very big brother role for the teenagers, and he kind of remains in that role, consistent big brother position for a lot of characters, because he just has the big brother vibes. This is a man who's just a good brother, and he cares a lot, and he cares about Anya a lot, even when they meet and they aren't necessarily friends. Where am I going with this? Yeah, he and Anya were meant to be very opposite each other. and have really opposing ideals. And that's something that changed in a lot of ways, but also stayed the same. At this point in the story, he and Anya still had very opposing points of views and ideas about the gods. I would say Anya's kind of a bit more religious than Kiran is. He doesn't put his faith in the gods or their magic, even though he was working for Anzu, which, again, a new development. He was never intended to be involved in the God War in my original conceptions of Tinder, when it became what it is now. But I think it was kind of fun for me to add him to the villain team rather than just being this random guy that accidentally got involved in this. And I can't talk about his role on Anzu's team, or why he's on her side just yet. That's that's a surprise tool that will help us later. But what was I saying? Yeah, like he's meant to be Anya's opposite in a lot of ways, but I also think they're very similar characters. Like on a surface level, they don't think they're alike, but they actually very much are alike, and they get along because of this. He and Anya are besties for life, and they love each other very much. Or they will love each other very much. They're not friends yet, but they will be. That's not something that I consider a spoiler, because you want your protagonists to be friends. He's also very cursed. not in a the way that we talk about cursed characters. I don't like this pose, but in the sense that he's quite literally cursed. And that was fun for me to write, because I don't think I decided early on that he would be a character with a curse, but it kind of came into conception and made a lot of sense for him as development went on. Not for any particular reason, but like Anya, he doesn't tend to ask for help for things. He's very self-sufficient, and he doesn't want to show weakness, because he's often in this caretaker role where he has to worry about other people who are not himself, and he doesn't want them to worry about him in turn. And a lot of Tinder, I think what's important for me is a story where people realize that they don't have to tackle the world alone. I think that's a lesson that I know that I need to carry with myself, and that's a lesson that my poor kids will also have to learn for themselves. I don't want to finish this, but yeah, like the kind of essence of my story is just this lesson of support is important, and having people who support you and will be there for you, and how that matters, and how I don't know, as people it kind of sucks to take things all on your own. And that's kind of where my head is at with my characters. What other fun facts about Kiran? He didn't used to have bangs. It's really random, but he was just a man with hair. He always had long hair, though. I don't know. With Anya, I can tell you pretty directly what characters influence her, and you can probably see it in her design. But with Kiran, I don't know. I think at the time in high school, all the male characters I was drawing were very, what's the word? But by shonen, very prince-like and handsome, and kind of average build. And I think when I was designing him, I was like, I want to make a super buff OC because I didn't know how to draw super buff people when I was 15. So when he was born, I was like, oh, he has to be very big and buff because it's so out of my comfort zone. And then he was big and buff, and I think Kiran was kind of my starting point for drawing very strong buff people. And it's not like he's buff for any reason other than I've never drawn it before and wanted to draw it for the first time, which I think is very silly. But did it help me get good at drawing big buff bros? Yes. Thanks to Kira, I now know how to draw a pair of abs and like big titties on a so thank you to my perfect OC for teaching me that. It's so funny because I think when I conceived the two characters, I was a lot more like Kiran. Yeah, and I still am in being introverted and liking to read books and making rational decisions based on like thinking about it rather than going with my gut. So I'm sorry, I have a frog in my throat. So yeah, I think of the two, it's not that he, like, Anya's a lot more idealistic and she doesn't have a lot of thoughts for herself. She tends to turn towards Samora for advice and like what to do for her next step, but Kiran's always rational about it. He's very much like, oh, to do A, I need to do B, C, and D in that order. And he's very, not one-tracked mind, but he makes a lot of decisions based on his own survival. Anya does too, but I think she has a very different method of going about it, and I hope that shows more in their story. I don't know how long I'm taking. I feel like I've taken a really long time drawing this, but that's because, I don't know, sometimes I can't get him right on the first try. It takes me like 5 or 6 tries, and as you can see, I got lazy. I didn't want to do a full body because he's big and I didn't want to think about anatomy, and I am valid. What am I talking about? Also, the funny thing, this is just in thought, but I did not expect him to be kind of really popular when I introduced my protagonist. Like, Anya's good and popular because she's baby, but Kiran, I guess, you know, he's the ideal man. Sometimes you just want a big, strong, and very nice boy to take care of you, and I think everyone who has ever told me that they're in love with him is the most valid person alive. I continue to be in love with him because it fuels me. That's kind of it. Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, it's fine. That's kind of it. Thank you so much for liking my very strong and very popular boy. This is lazy. It's fine. I love him very much, and I'm glad that other people love him, and I hope that introducing him makes more people love him, because, you know, big strong boy. That's all I had to say about that. Thank you for watching this process and for letting me ramble about my OC Kiran here on day 2. Even though it kind of felt more like an Anya and Kiran rant. It's it's like that meme where, like, do not separate them. That's basically their dynamic. You cannot separate Anya and Kiran for me. They come as a pair and not as separate. He means a lot to me in the same way Anya does. In that sort of, I had a hard time growing up. Had a had a few issues, and OCs were my escapism, and he was kind of a friend for me, and I made him to sort of encourage myself to that I can be soft and still be strong, and that's kind of the deal with him too. So Yeah, that's it. That's my special OC Kiran. Thank you for watching.